So what is the safest one? What is the safest annuity that someone could put a lump sum of money into, not worry about ever losing any, but have some gains? What would you recommend for that?
So you gotta see it this way. Think of it as like there's a line across the board, and everything on the top is all your variable. It goes from the none of the what they have variable means non-guarantee, which bonds being the less riskier but the smaller payout, and stock being the higher risk but could possibly with the more payout. And on the bottom of the line starts the same thing in the index world. Where CD is the less riskier with the less upside potential. And then on the bottom is the fixed index, where it gives you the ability to have obviously the minimal risk or less risk, but with the higher upside potential. So when you're looking for not necessarily participating in the market and you want all the bells and whistles and with the highest performance available, that would be your fixed index annuity.
All right. So if someone just had say, I have this $100,000, I have this $60,000, or I have this $500,000 from sale of a house or something, that's where you would, if they're kind of conservative, not really market watchers, want some growth but don't want to take a whole bunch of risk. Is that the instrument you would recommend?
That is correct. So think of it as that you want safe money and again risky money, and there's a lot of there's a lot of vehicles, instruments out there that you could use that would say pay high yield or returns, but they come with the risk, and it's one of those things that's going to require, the better the gains with the more risk, requires more engagement on your behalf.
Right.
If you're looking for something that's going to give you the best of both worlds, have the most upside potential with none of the risk, then that's where the fixed index annuity comes into play.
I want to change gears again, and I want to talk about death benefits. So, it's unfortunate, and we're just coming out of the coronavirus pandemic, and one of the things that has occurred is people who were already sick are just hit hard by this, right?
Yes.
And so there was a lot of deaths that weren't expected so quick. It was unexpectedly earlier death than anticipated. And unfortunately, and I see this all the time on Facebook, the tragedy, either coronavirus or they had a car accident, somebody passed away or both parents passed away. We started a GoFundMe, and in the neighborhood where I grew up, if somebody dies unexpectedly, you see a car wash, for God's sakes, trying to raise, $25 on a weekend or something. What kind of end-of-life products are there out there that people can access that aren't that? I think that people don't know that there's some instruments that are out there that aren't that expensive, but will do a whole lot, be right where you need it to be when and if that day ever comes.
Correct. First of all, Gil, GoFundMe accounts are not life insurance. People need to stop thinking that. But you're right.
Or a car wash, right?
Or car washes either. What people need to realize is that life is very unpredictable. And in some, whether it be communities or culture, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to think about death. It almost feels like it's taboo to even bring up the topic. But it's there. It's going to happen. We just don't know when, right? And for a lot of individuals, like you said, during the pandemic, it happened prematurely.
Right.
A lot. And I had family members that were our family was impacted. Luckily for us, we had people that had things in place, so it made the process that much easier because people are already going through tough times. People are being, their income's being interrupted, savings are being depleted, and the last thing we need is a premature death on the family that now we have to bankroll.
Right.
And so life insurance, I always tell people, life insurance is a way to protect your income. It's a way to protect your responsibilities and really to take off the burden of the financial responsibility of your family if something, or your loved ones, if something was to happen prematurely. But most people think that it's having that proper protection is out of reach for them. And it's not, because it's more of a financial, it's people think emotionally when it comes to this, to the life insurance. They see it as an expense instead of the benefit.
Right.
And they're really thinking that it's either out of reach. They think that I don't qualify because maybe I'm overweight, I have a pre-existing medical condition, or I might not even be, a citizen. And I always tell people, if having that proper protection to safeguard, to have that peace of mind, there's a resource, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. So the life insurance industry has made it that much easier for pretty much everyone to have that some type of coverage, regardless of your situation. So if you're able to get traditional underwriting, it's always going to be more cost effective, meaning that you're able to get more for your dollar because you qualify. However, if for whatever reason you don't qualify for the traditional underwriting due to citizenship or status or pre-existing medical condition, there's final expenses, what they call guarantee issues. Now, the only difference in the guarantee issue is that maybe the coverage won't be $250,000. It might not even be half. Maybe there'll be a lower. Usually, it's up to $25,000, anywhere between $10,000 and $25,000, which is perfect because at least it helps with final expenses, right? And I always tell people it's when you think of life insurance or having that proper protection, and trying to consider the death benefit, it all depends what you want. On a minimum, you need to have at least for final expenses $25,000 worth of coverage. And it could be $10 a month. It could be $20 a month, depending on your age and if it's traditional versus guarantee issue. And then you bump up death benefit based on your needs. Whether you're trying to build wealth transfer, do you try to pay off responsibilities, mortgages? Put your kids through college, depending on the liabilities or the responsibilities. But every household should have at least the very bare minimum for final expenses. Makes the process so much easier, and it's very feasible because it's literally pennies pennies a day.
Right. I know that a lot of employers give a death benefit like for their employees, and it's about $20,000 or $25,000. So I think if you have that from work, that's great. And then you have another one of these instruments that you're talking about on top of that, and you have two parents, and you have you could end up with, or your beneficiaries could end up with a significant amount of money to help transition their life now, because once you pass on, your lifestyle is changing. My mom's lifestyle changed when my dad passed.
Correct.
And it caused, there's been a rippling changes ever since that occurred for her, and which included selling the house where we grew up, and there was a lot of emotion and a lot of expense too. But she ended up in a good place. But I think what I wanted to do with this show was I wanted to let people know that it's not as scary as you think it is to talk about this stuff. And there are so many, and this is what I've learned since becoming a client. There's so many good instruments out there that people just don't know. And so when you say, you should talk to, when you hear somebody say, talk to your financial, expert or something, when you hear that, it just makes me cringe, like, oh, geez, okay. I feel like the used car guy is there again, but you're available, and there's other people, right? There's other institutions. There's a lot of folks out there right now that have the knowledge, have the information, and boy, I just think people should just tap into that information and try to access it. What do you have your thoughts on that?
First of all, you're right. They should, and I think people quickly realize that as they give themselves the benefit of the doubt and allow themselves to talk to someone, they'll see how painless the process really is. Because what I love about our industry that everybody pretty much preaches the same tone, or meaning that the process is going to be smooth. Really, what we're here to do is just ask questions, identify what the needs are in order to be able to put a recommendation. So I tell people, look, the more information you share with me, if you're honest with me and you telling me what your concerns are, what you're trying to accomplish, and really just come in with that mindset that I'm here to get answers. I have questions, I have issues, I need solutions to certain problems, and if I disclose that information and I ask all the right questions, I'm going to get the solution. And you saw that firsthand. I do want to backtrack a little bit when you talked about the employer benefits, like life insurance and other things. Anytime you are able to get benefits at a low cost or free from an employer, they're great. Take advantage of them. But I also encourage people to also consider something freestanding. The disadvantage of having something just simply through the employer is that if you leave that employer, you no longer have those benefits.
That's right.
One.
That's correct.
Second, a lot of these employer benefits are group plans, and they're very cost effective. But in order to keep the costs low, traditionally everybody has to be healthy. So if someone develops a pre-existing medical condition, they could be actually booted out the program in order to keep the cost low for everyone else. And that's something that most people don't know. So I always say, take advantage of it, understand what it is, understand the rules, and then based on that, make a decision to at least also consider to have other vehicles or other things in place freestanding. So that way, regardless of where you're at, where you go, or what happens, it's yours. You own it, and the benefits will do exactly what they're supposed to do.
Absolutely. And what I've learned over the last year is that there's some very cost-effective instruments out there that are just readily available for folks. And, that was really encouraging to me, because I really like this industry. And I think there's just such opportunities. And one of the things, I want to backtrack a bit. And when you talked about, we just ask questions. Like we're trying to, give me let me ask you questions so I can understand your situation. I was stunned at once I answered your questions, then you turn to a computer and you go, oh, okay, now that I know, I can just look and see what it is that works best for you. And I was just stunned at the amount of access to different instruments that you guys have that normal people don't have access to. This is why you need a professional who has all the information, has all the access, so that once they understand your needs, they can just turn to their computer and go, oh, here, let me show you this, let me show you that. And in doing that, you go, oh my God, well, that's the perfect. That's what I'm looking. I remember thinking, that's what I'm looking for. Looking at the screen and pointing at it, like that's the one. That's the one. That's what I want.
Yeah, and the benefit of that is actually being a non-captive organization, meaning that you get to work with different vendors, different products. So it's not like we're biased to just one vendor, one product.
Right.
We work for you. So our needs we're going to be biased to you. We want to make sure that we come to the best conclusion, the best case design based, for you as the consumer. And so usually when you deal with a captive organization, that just means that this is what we have on the shelf. Not that it's bad in any way,
right?
But based on your needs, it might not work for you. It might work for someone else, but not for you. So that's the beauty about having the availability of working with different vendors and having different instruments available to you, because you truly are able to either customize one particular instrument or even have a blend of multiple instruments to kind of be able to get that right tool in place to be able to hit those milestones that we're looking for.
Okay. So I'm going to wrap this discussion up. Is there anything else that you think the folks listening ought to know, any information you want to put out there, and then tell us how folks can access you if they're interested in contacting you?
Well, one of the things that based on all this information that we shared today, I just kind of want someone to have more of a simple image or a simple picture of what is it that they need to be focusing on. And that's really two phases in life, the accumulation and the distribution. The accumulation is basically, this is your working years. You're utilizing your income to kind of build yourself resources and give yourself the tools for whatever it is that you're trying to build financially. And so protecting your income in this phase is important. And how do you protect your income? It's really by understanding is it having the right life insurance in place to replace income if something happens prematurely? Is it having the ability to have short-term or long-term disability in case of a premature illness or injury? Anything that's going to give you the ability to supplement your income so that way you don't have to tap into your savings, that's important. That should be the key focus at the accumulation process. In the distribution, it's the later years. You did everything right. You hit all the milestones. You basically have achieved the financial goals. Now your biggest concern is that you want to make sure you have money for the rest of your life. And that's why trying to figure out what instrument is going to give me a monthly benefit for the right amount or a monthly benefit for the rest of my life, whether it be an annuity, whether it be your, just taking lump sum distributions from a 401k or IRA, is it real estate investments, whatever the case, anything, or even building a business, anything that's going to give you that revenue. That's the focus of the second focus on the distribution process.
If folks want to contact you, where do they go?
My name is Enrique Zepeda. Our website is EZEP Financial. That's EZEP Financial.com. Also, you can find me on Instagram under EZEP2014 or or Instagram for EZEP Financial is EZEP_financial. And my actual direct number is area code 310-387-9857.
Enrique Zepeda, EZEP Financial and Insurance Services. Thanks for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, Gil.
All right.